Oops.
Okay. All right. So we are live. Yeah. So thank you all for coming. It is a 7 of clubs week. We've changed the times, so it may have threw some people off. I apologize about that. It's the 7 of clubs week, right?
Ending tomorrow
I'm here.
starts the 8 of clubs week.
Yeah, we're ending the 7 of clubs week. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I put the 7 of clubs birthday in the bottom here. It has been one pretty interesting 7 of clubs week, I actually think. And definitely has the energy of the 7 of clubs. There was some gossip, a lot of, I want to say scandal, but P. Diddy got some media attention this week.
Huh.
Uh, and looking at the Uranus position in the 7 of clubs, as I was saying, you look at it as something that can be worthy, right? It can be something that could be seemingly a scandal or gossip, could possibly be there. Actually, the 7 of clubs has the Jack of Spades also. Let me share um, the screen. Yeah, so it has the Jack of Spades. I would say, or when we look at the Jack of Spades, even dating back to 2020, if you're following the United States spread, you can see the influence of the Jack of Spades. It is the mask bandit or someone that could be potentially going against you in some type of way or in opposition of who you are or what you want to stand up for, or someone that can be around you that could be possibly stealing from you. It's a small as you're honest. But I think Jack Space has a competitive nature. But overall, for the 7 of clubs, it also has a channeling of the 8 of diamonds. So that can be something materially or something that it desires ultimately that's in its path that can cause the 7 clubs issues. So again, so you can find a thief, I think, a lot of times with this energy, or someone that could be possibly lying, right? So also with this particular card, the opposite of that is standing up within truth and justice, being the initiate, helping other people, and using your creative abilities, talents, or whatever it may be, for a higher spiritual use, or attaining power, spiritual information in some type of way. You know. So I'm gonna show the spread here so you can see what I'm talking about. Thank you all for your comments as well. A lot of people have been commenting, and I think showing the spread it helps you all out. I believe, right? My bad. It's like coming up and down. I don't know why it's doing this. It's acting weird. It's going in and out. Can y'all see it now?
I see it now.
Can y'all see me?
Mhm.
Like, am I in
Gina's
here?
like, I know the live. Oh, what's that little thing up there? I don't know what that part is. Five of diamonds and Mercury. Hmm. I for sure was living a 7 of clubs kind of energy this week. You know how Gina, you
Hello?
always talk about being in your head and things like that. There was just these like undercurrent kind of nega thoughts that were coming through the house of me, and I was like, man, where is this coming from? Like, what started this? And I don't know if it's true because I haven't tracked the 7 of clubs that closely. The ones I know have an underside that they are managing, in their deeper dives. But I really found that this week. I found some of that like well, I don't know. How about, and I was like, what is all this confusion? Like, I definitely did not feel as steady. The 7 definitely rocked me, but it got to a stronger place. I'm not going to, the shaking up was good. It was activating. There was triggers. I'm not blaming the 7 of clubs, but I know that the way it took me out of my clear thoughts into more like wondering thoughts and doubting thoughts. And if, is this okay or that okay? I felt that a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's that energy. Yippers, that's the one.
So I thought of you. I was like, yeah, Gina's on it with this one. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm experiencing.
Yeah, the 7 of clubs is a very, I can appreciate it. I've gotten better at appreciating it, I guess, because it can be daunting because it it's like a quicksand of your thoughts, man, and
So
how
quick,
fast,
so quick.
how fast it could just be like, you're like, what happened? I was good, like, and so that's where I really think like it's so important that that's where like the mental muscle and the spiritual discipline and like being really self-aware has to like kick in, because if not, you're in the pits of hell of your own mind at times, and you have to really dig yourself out. You know what I mean? Like I think that's what ends up happening is you have to dig yourself out, or you get stuck, you can get trapped, and so, and that's again what I've learned the most is bring yourself back down to the moment, stay in the present because it's all you have, right? So if not, that's when you can spiral to the past or spiral to the things that haven't even happened yet, and then you're even just on more of what I call that seesaw of thoughts. So yeah, that's the 7 of clubs.
Yes, the seesaw. It looks like you got stuff, Rashad. You ready?
Yeah, I don't know if I was going in and out, maybe because I was changing screens in the back end, but I didn't hear the first thing. If Gina was speaking of what you all may have said, but yeah, this is Aquarius website for you all. It's app.aquariusmaximus.com. But yeah, I did hear kind of like the last things that Gina said, that you can be spiraling, going be okay 1 minute, then the next, it can be total disaster, right? So of course, like you said, like during the week, I did hear a little bit of what you were speaking with Madeline. Um, you said something you wouldn't blame it on the 7 of clubs. What were you saying? Was it you
No, I
personally?
wasn't necessarily. No, I wasn't blaming. I was just saying I noticed my thoughts, and when I grabbed something that was more negative or got triggered, when I went a little bit, it was really hard to get out of it. Like I had to like really come up with mantras, do my tuning, do my singing. Like I had to get myself out of a couple of spots this week.
Oh,
Like
okay.
just
Yeah.
different vibration. Like I just sort of dipped, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And I became pretty pessimistic and stuff, and I wasn't in a hopeful heart. And I was like, what? And I remembered, and I said, I got to do my tuning. I got to do some singing. I got to like do it. It just was, I had to make a move. I had to make a move. But it got better. It turned pretty quick, but I noticed it, and I just was making conversation while we're waiting.
No, yeah. So it definitely can be negativity, putting yourself or self hexing, kind of like you said, having to go into a prayer in some type of way, right? With the 7 of clubs overall, I think it is self hexing or prayer or mantras or those particular archetypes for this particular card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
And I know that you have a 7 space that connects to you, right?
Yeah, that's my 7 of spades is my positive karma, like my coming with me karma. But I also see it's the Saturn card for the 7 of clubs. But yeah, I stand in the 7 of spades. So in that way, I have a certain type of clarity around that usually. But my thoughts don't necessarily waver into such kind of like nega thoughts. I felt pretty negative a couple of times, and I dropped into places that I was like, what is that? Why am I even thinking like that?
Yeah. And I think sevens can be kind of like pessimistic with your as far as seven space connection here. It can take toll on someone physically, you know. So it can be like a, I guess, a physical experience. You know, like your mind and your body is connected. So it's like control
Mhm.
over your physical. And whenever you think the words, it controls your actions, right? So whenever you in a negative spirits or feeling depressed, I think sometimes you don't even want to, I guess, take action around the things that you should, or as far as like following your instincts, you know.
Mhm.
So with the seven of clubs, for them within in Saturn, uh, the space is usually connected to the physical. So Saturn can be physical hindrances and those things, right? So overall for this week and for the seven clubs overall, their particular life path when they're negative and they're not thinking good, I think it can kind of feel like like the world is against them in some type of way, or the things are working to opposition about the things that they want to acquire or things that they want to do in life overall. I'll just read from one of the books. The Constitution is not usually robust, and health should be guarded. May easily upset their own health through worry and negativity. May be interested in healing, and if so, should follow natural methods, chiropractic, osteopathy, naturopath, etc. Can become good diagnosticians interested in psychoanalysis, but do not make good counselors. Too fixing own opinions. You know? Um, so that's the seven of spades for the seven of clubs. But I can also see they could actually be not bad as far as counseling other people, even though the book says they're not, if they are well studied, you know, and always said if they have some type of tool in front of them. So this overall, I think this is seeking outside counsel, you know, having getting guided by someone else and making sure someone can see it from a different perspective. I think this particular card itself denotes when someone that may need counseling or advice, you know. So not trying to diagnose yourself. I think when it says could be someone that diagnoses or probably wouldn't want to seek to kind of diagnose this, what is that, can become good diagnosticians, interested in psychoanalysis, but do not make good counselors. So, what do you see the difference? What's the difference between actually? I think that's a good thing to look at. What's the difference between counseling, you know, and diagnosing someone? Do you see a fine difference between giving counsel
Well, I
and
mean,
then?
I believe when somebody comes up for a diagnosis, that's usually someone who's going to prescribe you medication, right? And then there's
Mhm.
also a way that you get a diagnosis for your insurance company. Like, so primarily I use adjustment disorder, meaning like you're just going through something. Do you know what I mean? I don't
Mhm.
necessarily label people in that way. I don't put people in those kind of boxes. People sometimes come to me with, a diagnosis that they say, this is my diagnosis, this is what happens, this is why I'm this way, this is why. So I go with it.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, for me, counseling is it's a reflection. It's being as pure in a reflection and as non-judgmental and being curious while a person kind of unpacks themselves. So it's really like holding space in your heart and allowing a person to kind of see themselves in a safe space, not like join in, not get on a team with them, not get mad at other people with them, like just keep it straight with them and just help them hear all the things they say until prayerfully some kind of like clarity comes for them and they have more of an ability to be themselves by choosing from a different perspective. So, as far as like diagnosing somebody, anybody who's disconnected from the oneness and is in some fragmentation of their foundation of their family is probably diagnosable, right? But that doesn't mean that's who they are. It just means that they're living in that confusion as we come back into that center space. It's going to take what it takes. Everybody's different.
Mhm.
So, my way of seeing it may not be, you know, but it's the truth. What I say is my truth.
No, you're a registered counselor, right?
Oh yeah. I have a whole bunch. Yeah, I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm a licensed clinical alcohol and drug counselor. I'm a hypnotist, Kundalini yoga teacher, trauma specialist. Like, I studied lots and lots of things, and I found that mostly what I brought and what supported people was authentic reflection, being really present, working with what is, and trying to help them get clear about what it is that they're doing that's helping, that is keeping them stuck. Right,
Mm.
because after you talk to somebody a few times, you know where they live.
Oh,
Like
you're saying
everybody,
like the mindset that they live in there mentally, or where they
yeah,
could be
like where
stuck?
they live, like where their references are, what they're, what they allow or don't allow in their ideas. You know what I mean? Like, I have a 7 of diamonds woman that's just like, oh, it won't be like that. No, it's got to be like this. Just the way she has certain ways that she's already created that give her the sense of safety that she chooses. Right, and
Mm.
my job isn't necessarily to challenge it, but I might like add wind to it. I might open it up a little bit and kind of tease at it a little bit to see if it really holds as strong everywhere else as it does in her head.
Mm. So I feel like before you can diagnose someone, you have to at least get to know them, like you said, counsel, speak to them, have
Yeah.
a sense of empathy, seeing exactly where they are at as far as mentally, before you can label them as something or having a particular attribute. So counseling is kind of like the um, a prerequisite before you can diagnose someone. I guess you can say. Would that be correct?
I don't know. Psychiatrists get trained in different ways, like the psychiatrists, they're looking for different things. And when you send somebody in, say they come into the hospital and they get admitted, and the psychiatrist spends 15, 20 minutes with them, they kind of get a sense of the way they move and the way they're presenting, that they say they're doing this or they have these symptoms, that they're acting like that. But for me, in watching that, it often seemed like that was a way to kind of get a sense of the terrain and then to medicate it. And a lot of times in the
Hmm.
hospitals, when people got medicated, it was kind of like to slow everything down, to almost like, numb them out a little bit so they could calm down. Because the thing about strong emotions, they can consume your everything. And once you're going and you go and you go and you make up stuff and you believe it, like, you can really get yourself pretty far out of bounds. And so for me, when you get diagnosed with something, like, I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting topic, the whole idea of diagnosis, because it is true that we do live in certain ideas for a while. Like I've said, I don't think there's any diagnosis I haven't spent a time with. During my menopausal years, there were certain character traits that were that of certain diagnosis. There's just certain things, like I've lived with depression, so to me, those are just a book filled with things that say these are the things that happen when people go through these things and they don't know what else to do, and then they do that, and if the chemicals take them over, then they start to do it over and over, and then we try to medicate them with other chemicals. But it's a tough one. I wasn't My brain's not in diagnosis brain, so I'm trying to answer authentically, and I'm like, what do I really think about diagnosis? I mean, it can be a road out, it can be a prison. It all depends on what you do with the words, right? Because those are concepts. I just think of how many young people hear that they're bipolar or they're this or they're that, and then they think that they're like that the whole time, and maybe some are, but maybe some are just kind of not knowing how to find center and haven't learned to regulate themselves, because emotional regulation and diagnosis, they go hand in hand.
No, yeah, especially, and why it's kind of coming up and important even within this card, as you can see, it's kind of based upon the 7 of spades, from this particular conversation, and also the 7 of clubs has the jack of spades, also, so that can be the physician. It can also say it's the I guess I want to say untrained physician, or someone that may be lacking, or I think someone that's attaining or gaining skill and knowledge, but it may not. It can feel like a energy that you may not be able to trust. So a lot of times Jack of Spades can leave someone skeptic. needing a second opinion as well. So it's all good topics around the seven clubs for this week because it's an energy and a state of point. I think the seven of clubs can be in. When should I go and get help, therapy, or psychiatric diagnosis? I think with the sevens or within the sevens, between the high and the low, we say the sevens are in the middle, right? So they're right at the center of being your higher self and then acting upon your lower self. And I think anything in the middle, when I think of that, I think of the two sides, like the Gemini, right? And with that can be mental disorder or paranoia, schizophrenia, or those particular things. The seven of clubs, I don't know if you've seen it earlier, but it was saying that can lead to can be skeptic, so skepticism. And also, I was kind of saying that can be a little tricky mentally, not being able to trust maybe someone or a doctor or a particular diagnosis. But it's also important because it also has the Queen of Spades and Venus. So dealing with your emotions, the way that you take fondness to people, the way that you care and nurture for other people. And also it can be maybe someone that can hold you to a certain amount of standard. The Queen of Spades, like kind of like having the King of
I
Clubs
would say
has the King of Spades in the moon. Hmm?
I can see that. I mean, I have two very close seven of
Yeah,
clubs.
so it can go into maturity.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
definitely.
I didn't hear you.
No, I was saying that
I
these
don't know
things you're
what.
saying here. You can't hear me?
Yeah, it's lagging for me though. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Well, there's like three of us. You have
Yeah, and yeah,
Yeah, I can
Rashad,
hear
you
you.
have like so many things open. The screen is like, yeah, there's like three of us on here.
Rashad is lagging. Can you hear me, J Lo?
I can hear you.
Okay.
There you go. That's better.
So then we're breaking down the life spread of the seven of clubs. Is that what we're doing tonight? And we're noticing the influences of the other cards in their potential personality and how their personality can get a little paranoid because they tend to be pessimistic and can think everyone's against them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Different
I live.
aspects. So what causing it? Hmm.
I didn't hear you, Rashad. What'd you say?
No, you can continue. I'm sorry. You was still going.
No, I wasn't going. I just was saying what I said.
Oh,
I just said what I said about the
but
seven of
yes,
clubs.
yes. So
It's a head card, right? It's like one of the sevens that's in your mind, right? Like the seven of spades has this maybe potential elder or like, maturity to them, right? And like a seven of hearts is looking at boundaries and trying to help everybody and stay kind because it feels so pure. And a seven of diamonds is like, what's my values? But they're also big givers, And I also see the seven of clubs as big givers, but they have a mental piece that really can get into it. They really have a hard time sometimes with the way the mental can affect the physical and the emotional. Like I know one of them can be pretty
yeah.
somatic illnesses. She can be in her head, and before you know it, she's got it.
And they have a five as Mercury. So they, I think if you look at any of the cards that have a five as a Mercury, how their thought processes has to be. You know what I mean? It's just like a filter of so many different things, perspectives. Have you ever talked to someone who has a five in a Mercury? It's fun.
Yeah,
It's like
it
a
is.
roller coaster
You get
ride.
I learned so much from them. There's two girls
Yeah.
and one guy, and I learned a lot when I talked to them. They really go into it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought was also kind of interesting for the weekly, even looking at the Diddy situation and that five of diamonds and fives in Mercury is a five of diamonds. So it's challenged by an eight of diamonds, and you have a five of diamonds in Mercury, right? So I think that adds to kind of the worry, something of value, or information, knowledge, possible changes that you probably are looking to. I guess we can say be in control of, but you probably don't have any control of. It's like someone coming up again. I use this a lot of times with the seven of diamonds, but when someone is in need or there's a particular need of change, before you can get something that may be greener on the other side, there could be an opportunity, but you may have to let something go. That can be a move, but also something material value. Something, maybe something financially, having to give back. I know you're talking about the seven of hearts and seven of diamonds, are huge givers. And I would say the seven of clubs, looking at where the nine of diamonds is and the eight of diamonds, they should be huge givers as well. But I think I wouldn't say this card is more selfish than other cards, but it can have, maybe there can be some selfish nature, a little selfishness that could be attached because it may have the eight of
Maybe
diamonds. So
self-preservation.
some of the
Maybe
worries and things that can go through or change. Mhm.
Oh, I just said maybe a little self-preservation, and because of their more neurotic energy kind of stuff, because I do perceive them, I experience them to be givers, but it is very much from them, for them, like they're thinking about themselves and they're trying not to overgive, like they're in a different consciousness of that. They do burn themselves out, but I think it's more on the end of self-doubt.
And the eight of diamonds is a card where it attains, but much of what it attains is for the sacrifice of other people. So it could be a potential sacrifice or not wanting to sacrifice, or like you said, self-preservation of having to always feel like they may be in service, for two. But then here comes, like again, this person that may be in need, maybe even a child, because the eight of diamonds transforms into a jack of hearts. So it could be a sacrifice for someone younger, maybe not a child, but maybe someone younger or less mature, less mature, and maybe in some type of way, that you are sacrificing these things for. And kind of like with Gina, kind of like the five of diamonds and Mercury, it says here sudden, unexpected changes in family and finances. Education may be interfered with, but should be persistent in at all costs. You know, and then also it has the nine of diamonds and Jupiter, which excites just even more worry, I think, for this particular card as well. So I was tying that back around for the weekend and looking at Didi's situation because he had a domestic uh, abuse um, case that kind of a video that kind of came up. So again, the seven of clubs is going to show scandal, is going to show gossip, negative attention. And I think it's going to affect him monetarily as well, with that five of diamonds and nine of diamonds, which it did already actually, because he had to go in and give a lot of money to Cassie. Um, Previously. So I think even that video coming back is always a reminder: what did you do? What did you give? How did you? Um, what did you let go or donate to? I guess this other person, because some people saying it's about money, and I can kind of see that. And even looking at this particular card, it says inheritance is likely but often dissipated, especially if a woman is involved in this position. In this case, you giving that money to a woman, right? Um, which is, I think, so for him, I think it's going to affect his family, his reputation overall. As far as the news, and I think as far as celebrities and when news come out, it is something I think that affects them monetarily. So overall for this energy, how you affect it financially is important as well, with that eight of diamonds, five of diamonds aspects.
I think about how do
All
people
right.
manage, like when you show me all these things, I tag them, I consider the people I know, I think about the energy, and then my own mind's always like, how does somebody move with this energy and not lose their clarity? Oh, I don't want the vanilla.
You said how do someone move or navigate
Well,
within
I
this
mean, how
energy
do they
without
keep their clarity, right?
clarity?
Because, well, the thing is, you were describing the aspects of their hand and some of the energies that come with their character. And then I'm knowing that that person still wants to feel liberated. They still want to feel clear. They don't want to be in fear. So, what would be the responses to support it? So, that's just where my brain goes.
For the just overall, so I use Diddy as just an example of the energy how it kind of comes out. I think for him, the three of diamonds has a ace of spades, and then the seven of clubs itself has a two of clubs and Uranus, and that's kind of a reason I started out talking about therapy and counseling. So when is it a sign and trigger? When is it a sign for someone to go get therapy and counseling? You know, and I think showing or having emotional unrest, right? And when you find yourself in doubt, when you find yourself in fear, you know, I think for men, a lot of times it's hard for us to admit that we need therapy and we need counseling, or to even admit that we need help a lot of times, or seeking counsel or seeking someone outside of yourself to speak to. And I think that's something that for men we have to get better at, and I think that with the new age of social media, we are. There's a lot of places where men, I wouldn't say a lot. There's a few places I've seen online where a few guys who offer counseling, who offer therapy, you know, for people. Um, so the two of clubs sits in Uranus for this particular card, and you were speaking about fear. So here I would just read out what the two of clubs and Uranus is for this particular card if you can't see it. So here's a great need for a good mental foundation. Two of clubs is fear card. They are apt either to shun shun entirely or to get far out in the very things they have come to deal with. Their own birth card is in the Uranus position. They should um, acquaint themselves to the truths that lie behind the veil, not in the confused and often evil astral realm, but straight up to their own counselors. So I think just the overall theme around the seven of clubs week and with the seven of clubs is counseling. When is it that you should seek counseling? And a lot of truth was revealed right behind the veil. We often say that with the Jack of Clubs is the initiate. So within the initiation, there is a truth that is being revealed to you as well. I think also you're being initiated in some type of truth or having to live up to some type of truth. Because whenever you look at Jacks, is either you live it or you dream it. It's something, and I think when you live in something, you have to stand and walk within your truth. You can't hide. I think that's when people say darkness shall come to light. A lot of times we live out these particular things, and they become our second natures. So sooner or later, you're going to show your hand in some type of way, and that's the Three of Diamonds way. We tend to not show our hand, and with the Ace of Spades has a challenging two of clubs. You're going to have to talk about certain things. And I hate to put a person on the cross, but that's kind of what the life of the Three of Diamonds. We have a Jack of Hearts and Saturn. We're kind of nailed to the cross in some type of way. We are the examples, I guess. We'll have to be the example, and that is for a higher good rather than a lower good, right? So the only way to get out of this is walking and being the example. Admitting to your faults, admitting to who you are, and that's not to say, and that's why celebrities are always sensitive because they're doing this publicly. You don't have to walk around and put yourself out there publicly. These people are literally sacrifices, and I think that is part of the Illuminati or the sacrifice you take is a public sacrifice. And that can be humiliation. Which is seven clubs can be something that happens publicly because it happens in Uranus Saturn, right? So you can be put on the pedestal, putting it onto the cross, maybe publicly. You got to think about it. The Jack of Spades has all of the jacks. It has the Jack of Hearts in it. So the energy behind the seven of clubs is the Jack of Hearts, is the sacrifice, it's the Christ principle, or you happen to be the example. of love. So Gina, so her work is a sacrifice as far as helping and healing other people. So outside of just the pessimistic side of the Jack of Spades, it has a healing aspect as well. So the seven clubs can have those healing aspects as long as it matures and gains information, knowledge to initiate it, and not holding. I think trying to feeling like they like kind of with the three diamonds, feeling like they trying to hold back something so they can have one up on another person, right? So being truthful and honest and not trying to hide something so it can have something up on another person. But knowing that its lessons are here to kind of teach or guide everyone.
Kind of lagging.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's like it's delayed.
I don't know what it is. I'm gonna switch onto another streaming onto the other web browser.
Well, we did hear most of what you said, Rashad. It was
Yeah.
just at the end there. No, we were hearing everything you said. We heard lots of stuff, and yeah, it's interesting. My brain Sunday night is a different brain than my Sunday morning brain. I'm noticing in having this conversation. I'm like, oh boy, I gotta get prepped up for Sunday nights. Like Sunday morning, I'm a little bit more like bouncing around, seeing what comes up, and at this point, I'm like, that seems like a lot to think about. I'm like, I gotta take that down a little bit and let that sit and see what tomorrow brings. But it's just that time of yeah. So that's what I'm noticing in trying to do this. But I mean, we couldn't still do weather reports and stuff. But
yeah, I don't really want to give a lot of energy to that situation because that video could be very triggering for a lot of people, and you know, it's a very I think sensitive topic too for a lot of people.
Well, I mean, Rashad touched on it, and he's so humble in these ways. Like he touched on that men don't know how to manage their emotions, right? And that part of what makes domestic energies get so intense is because people don't know how to express their true emotions, and the ones we're comfortable with are dominance and anger, or like, oh, poor me, like those are the ones that we throw down. So those dynamics that get so out of whack, there's really a skill set that's being called for there. Like, how do you know and understand yourself and learn to regulate yourself? And if you add like alcohol to it or something else, then it just spins it faster. So that domestic abuse and violence in homes, I think that's like one of those, it's happened more than not. Even if it wasn't with hands, it's happened with words, it's happened with dominance, because we didn't really come into this, let's play nice together and learn to love each other and make each other stronger. There was still an undertone of dominance. And like Rashad touched on, the ability to articulate our emotions, be authentic in what's happening is hard. It's not a skill set that most have. And therefore the explosive stuff is what comes in result.
Yeah.
So we got a question: displacing the 7 of clubs this year. Any advice from Joyous Day?
Stay in them now. Try to work your mind. Like it just kind of like what we talked about, like in the beginning, of how that energy will your mind will swing. And so it's just being aware of when you're on the swing and how to regulate it, how to ground yourself, how to stay present in the moment. Remember you have the power of the tongue with you that whole time that you're sitting in that house. So it's not just what you say outside, it's also what you say inside. Like I think that's where it starts. And I think one of the best things you could do with that energy, if you're displacing it, if it's your long range card, if it's your Pluto card, is to really be mindful of the conversation inside. Pay attention to how you respond to things internally, because then what comes out is also a reflection of that. So it will bring that to your awareness, and sometimes in a very challenging way, but take the challenge as a way to kind of like a square. You're gonna, power through that. You have to really be able to kind of put a lot of energy into really building your mental muscle. A spiritual discipline will be very beneficial, like working on positive affirmations, because you have to think about it. You're really sitting in that house for the year. It really wants you to spiritualize your thoughts. So work on your thoughts, work on what you say. Be okay with oppositions to plans, and that's what it's going to do. Is like when you have you think something's supposed to go one way, and then it doesn't. How do you respond to that? How will you respond to when what you thought was going to be doesn't go? Can you see protection in the rejection with that seven of clubs energy, right? Can you still speak life over a situation that maybe didn't go the way you thought it was going to go? And so you have to kind of be open to and actually think that maybe it's even could be better. So really, it's about really spiritualizing your thoughts and just really paying attention to where they go. And when the negative ones come up, that's when you really have to do the work. That's when you're being tested. That's when you'll have to put forth a lot of discipline and effort to really kind of dig yourself out of what I call the quicksand of your mind and talk yourself, off the ledge, if you will, by speaking life over the situation. So pay attention to your, it's really about from the inside out.
Again,
And then
Roshi was
also,
speaking earlier about. Go ahead. No, you can continue. Go ahead, Gina.
Crap, what was I gonna say? I don't even remember now. It'll come back. I don't remember.
And also something. And also, but to kind of help that inside out job, having structure, implementing structure into your life or whatever it is that you're doing. I always say the jack of spades is the learning curve. So there's something, information, something that we looking to attain, something that we need, something that's challenging us. And that's why I was saying there could be something materially, it can be something financially, something you're looking to attain, so implementing structure or some type of sense system, right? So religious faiths and systems, those are systems and things that are used to strengthen your belief, So the same way that you use religious principles to strengthen your beliefs, there is systems and everything that we do, So don't try to reinvent the wheel. A lot of times, find something else or someone else to help you with that learning curve or to obtain some type of information or something that you seek materially. Seek advice as well. A lot of times what we are challenged or we challenge ourselves because of the hurdles that kind of take place, or there's something that we need or want and we may not have enough information, we may not have enough money, so whenever you're in those type of situations or positions, you may have to humble yourself and seek counsel outside of yourself. Even with the five of diamonds, five of hearts, five of clubs, it has four corners and there's one pit in the middle of the regular playing card, right? So that's why they say that the first card that comes up. That's why they say that the fives overall, the five of diamonds, should seek counsel. Seek someone outside of themselves whenever they're looking or trying to gain something of value. Or you may have to let go or divest or to invest into that information as well. So a lot of times we want things, but we're not willing to make the sacrifices and investing into those particular things. These laws and things are nothing new under the sun. Even a spiritual teacher told me one time that, I was going to get in readings, right? And I was kind of young, I wouldn't say. I wasn't cognitive of the power of money, I guess you can say, or the proper use of money, and that's, I think when you're young, between 19 to 25, 27, you don't know to pay for consultations or to pay people for your advice. I think in this new age of social media, it has become something that's normal. But outside of in certain communities, we are not aware in the African American communities that you should go out and pay someone to seek advice or seek a counselor for whatever trade you want to be in. But knowing how to invest and divulge and invest and to divulge your money into different things and where you can get a proper return. And a lot of times we're not investing it properly whenever we want or seeking something. So the five of diamonds, I think, is one of those cards or one of those ones the way you when you invest, whenever you're able to put your money and to invest into people and maybe and able to get ideas from a lot of different places, you're just strengthening yourself and you're empowering yourself. So that is one of the challenges of the seven of the clubs as well. So those are particular things that you should look at is getting and seeking counselorship or seeking the advice from other people when for whatever may be challenging you, seeking a different opinion and or seeking a system. Like I said, there's nothing new under the sun, right? So
You know what
whenever
else
you're
I think if
seeking,
you really, I think what you're
go
saying
ahead.
about, I think when you talk about people going for counseling and like having another reflection and being able to challenge what happens, I think an even stronger way to do that now is in groups of people. So like if like a bunch of seven of clubs and maybe some eight of clubs like sit together and talk with each other. Do you know what I mean? Like you help each other kind of learn and grow. Like there's something about the bigger reflection because even in the little one-on-one microcosm, you can still distort yourself so much. You really want to get to the facts where you recognize that part of what we're experiencing is energies that move through us or help to create us, right? But then we still have to regulate and know a center and keep a thought that keeps us alive and not a thought that makes us, split or be mad at somebody or whatever. But, anyways, I do agree that a counseling person can be so
Mhm.
helpful. But I also think, like, I'm talking about like a group where you go with them through something for like 8 weeks, like you cultivate a certain kind of vibe just in the group. The group itself becomes an energy. It's really fascinating what kind of stuff comes out in those things because it gets so simplified because it's not about one person, it's about the energy and how you co-regulate with the energy. How you work
Hmm. Yeah, even
your
with the king. So how you what work your what?
that's just how you work your energy, because you'll see someone else do it a certain way. Like I was talking before about these two girls I know, the seven o'clock. I'm like, well, I wonder how they would be together, right? What it would be like for those two to hang out together, right? Because in their own fervor and sharing and stuff like that, they really like one-on-one time with me and they take me all over the place. But if they were with another one just like them, that would be a different experience, right? Right? If you were with three or four people that were of the
No, yeah,
same
for sure. And
type, like it would have to have a certain type of polishing in it. I mean, and everyone would be unique based on what they bring and what they want to learn more about. So whatever, but yes to the counseling,
yeah,
and
so
that's
with
what.
the king, yeah, so yeah, I agree. So yeah, with the Kings, I don't know if I will share my screen or not. With the Kings, you always talk about getting Kings together, or having a Kings corner, which we did. I guess we'll make that available. I was kind of well, I think we touched on so much within that session. But the King of Diamonds, King of Hearts, that is actually an attribute of wanting to be around other kings. And I think whenever you're looking at those particular cards, is kings for me denote a sense of maturity, a sense of expertise. So having a group or other people that has a certain amount of expertise or something is important for kings, or being around a group or a collective is important so they can gain knowledge. It's like, how can a king be able to rule over or to be knowledgeable outside of themselves if they don't meet up and go out and gain information from other people that are worthy and have the ability to iterate whatever it is as far as any particular skill or a particular I guess you say field of knowledge. So that is one of the, I guess, the archetypes of the king is trying to surround yourself with other people. The reason I say that is because the seven of clubs has a king of clubs and Neptune. So that leadership, that knowledge, that counsel is also, yeah, you should surround yourself around plenty of people, more people, or not just one person, but a multitude of people that has a certain amount of information, knowledge, where you can, or leaders, where you can strengthen your own palate in some type of way, or your own mind, or have it to give to you mentally. So yeah, I totally agree. Group work is I think something that kings love to do. Outside of, a lot of times, I think they get the notion that they're selfish or it's all about them. But having other people around you that's knowledgeable is also important for the King of Diamonds.
Yeah, think about people
I was
enjoying their
looking for,
Saturn
so this
return.
book.
Like, think about kids going through their Saturn return, like that 28, 29, 30. Like, it's such a good idea to be with other people going through that and getting a sense of what the collective lessons are, right? Because they seem to be thematic
Mhm.
somewhat to your chart and to your experience. But if you're with people similar to you or the same card as you, or you, yeah, I just feel like it's all done with mirrors. So we'll just be able to get so much more honest and more creative in solutions. Not like honest and like, oh my God, it's true, me too, let's all tank. But like, what's a way to vibe out and get clear in this time? Because I don't know, it just makes more sense to me that way. Because I find sometimes in the one-on-one space, even myself, I'll indulge myself in talking about and thinking about things one-on-one with people. I'm just like, why the heck am I talking about that? But like, it's that little spot. It's like, So I think one-on-one is powerful, and I also think groups are powerful. I don't know where I'm going with you with this one. I'm not sure why it keeps coming back to the circle, but I'm happy to. Oh, well, look, people are coming in. How swell. So we should definitely ask you all to tell us any questions you have about the Seven of Clubs. So far, Rashad's been sharing with us what it is that's in the spread. We've talked about some general notions that you can't get caught in your head. It's been suggested that you really have to be able to decide and like do it from the inside out and grow through any fears or insecurities. And now we were just talking about if somebody needs therapy, like a Seven of Clubs, they should go to therapy. And therapy went to the idea of maybe groups being even more helpful than just indulging in all the ideas that the Seven of Clubs, Five of Diamonds, Mercury can have.
Hmm. Yeah, so someone said there are seven of clubs this year. What do you mean by you are a seven of clubs? Is that so? For those who don't know, a lot of times we talk jargon as if you already know these things, and I apologize. It may not be as clear to those who may be new. So it's kind of like you got to come in and catch up to speed. So we sincerely apologize for those who may get lost within the jargon and what we speak of. So, whenever we speak about someone as being a particular card or looking at your yearly, so every year you have a new card that you are going to um, potentially walk the path through. So, you have seven cards. Okay. So, out of 365, that 365 is split up into into 52 days. All right. And so those 52 days, you get a new card every 52 days. And within those 52 days, you walk the path of that particular card. So that is why I asked which card or what do you mean that you are that card. So other than the 52 days, you also have a particular card that could be your sun card. It can be deemed as your sun card, which is the card that's at the top. If you can see on this spread, coincidentally, there's a seven clubs in the sun. So how that works, I guess it's a perfect opportunity, right,
That's
to kind of
awesome.
explain that. So whenever I'm looking at your card, this is a technique yeah, this is a technique that you actually will not find in the book. So whenever you you reading a spread or looking at a particular spread or trying to read the energy for the year, which we give consultations. I try not to call them like readings too much because I want to leave that to the psychics. But so I call them more of consultations. So whenever you get in a consultation, one of the key indicators of how your year is going to go or how your year is going to look is you're going to look to the sun, okay, on the life spread. So through the life spread, you have um, 40, 45, 44 spreads, and you double that. So so you actually have like 90, 98 spreads that you're going to go through. All right. And they're just going to be recycled. 90 spreads that you're going to go through, and they're actually going to be recycled. Okay. So you have 88, 89 spreads. Okay. Just a second. So again, in a particular year, through these 90 cycles, okay, you're going to go through it like your age, right? So I'm 1 years old in this particular spread. So if someone was one, let me go back to it. That was the first spread that had the 7 of clubs. So that is the highlight of the year. So a lot of books is not going to tell you this is how you read this particular spread of what's in the sun. The 7 of clubs is in the sun, so it is highlighted. So this is how it works. So the same way that we're highlighting the 7 of clubs and looking at the themes and lesson of 7 of clubs, that is how your year is going to look. That is going to be the highlight or something that is going to be highlighted throughout the year for you. So the 7 of clubs is going to have a particular theme for you for that particular year. So it's layers whenever you're looking at the card. So what is the next layer that I'm looking at? If I am a queen of clubs, right? Other than the 7 of clubs being the sun, the next thing I'm going to look at for my first 52 days of my year, of my birthday, my second card is going to be the first card is going to be my Mercury card. Okay, that's going to be the highlight for 52 days. Okay, so that's going to be my Mercury card. All right, so for the first 52 days of my birthday, I'm looking at the 2 of hearts. All right, the second 52 days, I'm looking at the 10 of diamonds. Okay, so every 52 days, you have a particular card that will be highlighted for you. And let me not say that you're going to be walking the path of or their particular shoes. But I want you to look at have a karma card, which is supportive and a negative as okay. So whenever you have a particular card, or you say you're walking, or I have this particular card, or I am this particular card, it's also important from my perspective is to know where this particular card is. This Mercury for you? Is this Venus? Okay, if I was a queen of clubs, Mercury would be my 2 of hearts. The Venus would be the 10 of diamonds. Okay, and the 7 of clubs will be my sun card, which no book is going to tell you. Okay, so these are information I got from Aquarius Maximus class. Those that is going to be the highlight. Then you have your long range card. Okay, and those are particular jargons and words that you don't have to worry about as far as just studying. But if you want to learn more and looking at your cards, I can kind of help you out with that as well. So if you go to Aquarius Maximus or 7 Thunders, they're going to have the other jargons of your long range and your displacement cards. Okay. So it can also be your displacement card. So here the Queen of Clubs is displacing the Ace of Hearts. All right. So in the regular spread that sits here is the 3 of Hearts, but right here it's displacing the 8 of Hearts, which is children. All right. So let me get back to the clubs. So I'm 7 of Clubs this year. So it is her long range card. Okay. So your long range card is kind of like that sun card as far as it being a highlight, but something that you may not see until the year is over with, or something that may not be highlighted until the year has passed. Okay. So I'll take from what the books say, I'll tell you what it says from the standpoint of the books. So the 7 of Clubs being your long range card. Is it? I think it has long range in this book. Pretty sure. well, I read it from it doesn't, but it's kind of like the Phoenix. I read it from the standpoint of Phoenix. So this can indicate your next birthday that you have learned some important spiritual knowledge or ideas, and learning this you may have eliminated to a good extent may many negative thinking patterns or ways of thinking. Now you have much more positive attitude, and also represent significant spiritual or psychic experience that has unfolded over the course of the last year. You will be taking it and the wisdom gained from it with you into the next year. So that is the long range is kind of like the overall lesson that you have for the entire year. So creating mantras, gathering information, gathering knowledge that you may have been challenged with, and learning how to use that knowledge in a particular way. That's why I said like building systems for the Seven Club. So how can I use this knowledge practically, right? So the Seven Club sits Saturn Uranus is kind of like an upgrade of information, and how do you apply it? Is it applicable? Are these particular laws? If something is a law, that means it's applicable. It can be applied almost daily, every day. Even spiritual laws. That's why I say if it can't be tried, tested, and shown proven, it's not a law. Is there's a lot of things and to overcome someone that's skeptical. The only way that someone can overcome being skeptical is they integrate or have common practical use of knowledge and tools. I think that's the only way to defeat skeptic is show and prove, right? So all the information and knowledge you gain, how do you show, prove, and practice that? Are you applying these mantras that you actually speak? Because a lot of people, I spoke to my friend Chris Lumbu, who I always like to shout him out because I'm very proud of him. He's a millionaire, and we graduated together. It's like this guy was getting answers from me, but so I always love to see him. See his success, but something he was speaking about this weekend was that what was he talking about? I lost it trying to give him props. I lost what I was in, but yeah,
Well, you were talking about
but
the
he always
mindset. You were
goes
talking
to
about the mindset.
is you applying the information and knowledge,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that one of the
Yeah, are you
insecurities that
applying the
I was going to say one of the realizations that comes through
go
is
ahead, I
we
can hear you.
can. Do you want me to wait? I'll wait. Can you hear me?
No, go ahead. It's a lag for me, so I apologize.
Sorry, and I have a
Even
screaming
on this new
grandson in
browser.
the
Go
yard.
ahead.
I apologize. Yeah, no, I was just saying that one of the triggers this week for me was that are you doing what you say? Are you walking your talk? Like I'm a big lover of Molly McCord, and she talks all about this Jupiter and Gemini being like, are you walking your talk? Like, are you really that? Right. So I feel that's that inside out thing. Like, is your inside and are you aligned to what you're really saying and doing? Like, can you continue to follow what you believe regardless of what comes at you? So I think that having practices is how you walk your talk, but
Oh yeah,
it's
I know what I was.
no, I'm not saying it like I'm just saying that was one of my weekly. That was one of those moments. I'm just tagging it because it was a 7 of Clubs week, and I hit that spot, and I was like, oh, I really have to like make sure that I'm matching me in a way that I'm moving forward, and it's not about proving it. It's about walking it and becoming it, and then seeing what happens. And obviously, with your friend who did what he did to be a millionaire, he followed some stuff that really put him on a good course.
And one thing that he also highlighted was people love to call themselves gurus. You know, I think we're in the age of information, right? Some say this is the age of Aquarius, where information is at the tip of your finger. So it's easy to say or to appoint yourself as the authority of something. It's even easier to say that I'm healed or have fixed myself mentally. But these are daily things. I think it should not. The process of reprogramming yourself isn't a overnight thing by any means, right? Even us as spiritual people or spiritual people that give information and knowledge, we have to work on ourselves. We are not whole and perfect. Like I love Kendrick's last album. He said, "I've been going through something." The last 1,365 days, I've been going through something. I think people deserve time and space for them to really heal, to really reprogram themselves, or you just treating them like a fly by night guru as well, expecting them to be this perfect being or this perfect soul without applying practical, solid information or tools, or be able to kind of help themselves, So if we can't judging someone and looking at someone, you're just as bad as a over the night guru. If you expect someone to heal overnight, they have to have practical applications as well to apply, and those practical applications and those forms of tools, take steps. Everything starts from a 1 to 12 or 1 to 10, so it's not a one day thing. Even having a spread of 7 cards, you can see your year even progressively through the cards. It doesn't happen overnight. Even like in this Mercury or Venus card, there's 2 of Hearts. That lesson, you may not even learn that lesson until you get to Neptune, right? Till the end of the year, or maybe into the next year, depending on what you displace, right? So I think.
Okay, when you're done, I don't know how to. I'm not sure how to.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I'm excited to what you say too.
No, I know I do that. I can go on.
I know. And I'm trying to like kind of let it flow, but also hit you, because like one of the other things that came up in the things I listened to is that in the Lemurian understandings, or there's a frequency of love that can and is part of our vibration that maybe as a King of Hearts, King of Diamonds, I have a window of it, or a part of me experiences it. So therefore I speak from clarity at times because I have that, right? But there's places in me that maybe aren't in the love frequency, places that got mad or hurt or confused. So I think what Rashad you're speaking to is like when we wake up to what needs our attention inside, we are going through something. We're going through boxes. We're going through layers. Like we're working to see who we are when we stand in our mental clarity is that 7 of clubs. So I just really experienced it this week a lot. So I'm just speaking to the way I made sense of it was, okay, well, if a love frequency is coming into something that's got shadows and murky stuff, there's going to be lots of revelations. There's going to be lots of information. And you do kind of go through stuff, and how you talk about it, like not like, oh my gosh, I messed up. You're like, oh yeah, that wasn't right. It's almost like you just clear the path. You just kind of know that you're going to a higher place and take the information and do it in grace, like not in drama or to repeat the hurt to someone else, but to be with yourself as you learn, oh, wow, maybe, I say that, but what's going on there? Like, how am I talking there? What's happening in my part? Because that's really how you tune yourself to something you can trust. And that's when you're your own guru. I've never really liked that idea of a guru. It never made much sense to me. I thought inspiring people to their own clarity would be that we'd be in a shared genius, and that would make more sense for solutions, not like one person who gets all the focus on them and then who knows what happens to their character with all that energy at it.
And you may see an uptick in that whole guru space because Jupiter moves into Gemini on a 7 of clubs day. So, but I think you're also going to see an uptick in, people studying. You're going to see an uptick in, just the realm of spiritual knowledge and the sharing of spiritual knowledge, and I also think too, this is where your spiritual discipline will have to really, be activated, because we know Jupiter is going to expand whatever it touches. And we also know that 7 of clubs being on a 7 of clubs day, that it moves. I like to look at those transits. Like what day, what card is this planet making this transit on? And since it's on a 7 of clubs day, I can see that being even very Gemini, right? Because it can swing. It has 2 sides to it, right? It has the high, the low, the faith, the fear, the up, the down. So we're going to probably be bombarded with, all different types of information. And that's where you'll have to use your own spiritual discipline and come into your own mind and really, work on those thoughts and really kind of see through some of the smoke and mirrors that may come about as well with that, because it'll be an overload of information. It could be an overload of gossip, maybe see an overload of different types of exposure. Look at what happened with Diddy this week is probably just a preview of what is going to be happening as Jupiter moves into Gemini for the next year. So more stuff will come out, more things will be exposed. That you're definitely going to see.
You can't take on a side. You can't take on the pain body hits on that stuff, right? Because everybody's in it. I work with couples, and golly, it's just so horrible to see how much people who love each other can be such jerks to each other. You know what I mean? Like, it's a crazy, horrible thing. And by no means am I making an excuse for somebody hitting somebody. No, I got hit. I hated it. I don't think
he stomped. He didn't. It was bad. I don't know if you haven't seen the video.
I get the level of rage it is. I'm never going to see it. I don't want to see it.
Yeah,
I'm just going to say that the level of rage it is denotes our capabilities to get that far away from the way you'd want to treat yourself. What you do to that person, you're doing to yourself. You'll never live without whatever you did. So we've got to come through some of this without shutting down. The other thing that I can't stop noticing, and this is one of those insights that came with the Seven of Clubs, is how these generations stuff keeps playing itself out. Even though we might have a different lens on what's going down, some of the same pain body stories and cycles and marriage dynamics and stuff like that, that stuff gets passed down. You know, so it's been going on for generations, the way that people aren't in right relation with each other. Like, we make each other the point of tension instead of within ourselves making integrity in the point of tension. You know, like that integration. There's a word that this lady calls it that works with Levine and Mate with trauma, all about that vagus nerve. But it's like holding yourself and that tension and reverence and understanding of the importance of what you say and do. Because once we're in the emotional joining, it's so easy to get lost in the clarity, because you're in the shared emotional, is everybody okay? What do I do? How do I come through? I got to be this or that. Like, that's the space we've got to pull in and grow grace, because in relationships, we're going to get tested. But if we go back to that hurt and we keep looking for that hurt again, we're going to get it. You know, like, we're going to get what we focus on.
Yeah, I think Nina, I love the way when she speaks about Eight of Diamonds. When she speaks about living in the pain body, you know, not being able to, like, what do I do next? Is like that point of your life or a point of healing where you stuck at a particular place and you don't know where to go next. And so you just replaying those same ideas, that same trauma back into your head, and you just stuck there. So there's no application of laws. There's no application of healing techniques or principles to help you overcome that particular pain body. I think
that's what J-Lo's saying. Like, we must talk about it to heal it. And that's those circles and those groups. Like, I'm not saying that you just get over it and just talk about it like it didn't happen. I'm telling you, I'm feeling those things. No. I'm remembering the things that happened. And, like, I'm coming into, like, where's my confidence? Like, where did my confidence go? My confidence went because people hit me. That's where my confidence went. And they happen at normal times that people think that's what happened. But, like, it changed my inner confidence because I was hit. So I'm working through that. It's not like I don't need to heal and talk about it. But the thing is, I can't hold that as a reason anymore. I have to, like, heal it and feel it, right?
No, yeah, it's a definite place. I found myself in a lot of different places as far as knowledge, gaining knowledge, you know, what are the points of where I didn't have no confidence. And also within relationships, like you were saying, not to make an excuse for anyone, but I've had domestic disputes, and I wasn't the aggressive one. You know, I didn't feel like I was the aggressor. Maybe there was something that I triggered into them to make them feel like I was being aggressive. So yeah, these are real places, you know, that people are in, and I hate when it's just, oh, men are show these traumatic behaviors like it's just men. No, there are men out here getting abused too. FYI, if you didn't know. But yeah, there are kind of like. But like Gina was saying, hopefully these are the conversations that we have where we can find application to of healing ourselves mentally, because it is something that is mental. It will affect you long term, and it can affect you long term as well. The way you act, the way that you Casey, in this standpoint, the way that she act, the way that she asserts herself in the next relationship, all those things are going to be affected. It may not even have been her, that wanted to. Some people speak about the fact that she did come out years later, but it may not have been her. It may have been her partner, seeing the habits that she has within a relationship. Like, you have to let this go somehow. What is it that you have to do? Those are things and points where it's in conversations that is hard to have. And hopefully, as Gina was saying, as Jupiter goes into which location, Gina? Into Gemini on the 7 of Clubs day, we can have these conversations. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. And I believe that the universe will help us have these conversations because of the energies, and that the conversations will include like mirrors in the process, but by no means can we see it as it's happening against us anymore. Like, the reason I think astrology and these meaning makers and all this stuff are so important is because I'm hoping that they're telling everybody, listen, everybody, we're connected to something that's very intricate, and we're repeating patterns, and we're hurting each other. And we have to stop. And we all have to stop. Because as long as there's somebody hurting somebody, there's going to be somebody protecting somebody. Everybody you hurt is you. Like, we're not supposed to hurt each other so much. No matter what you want to tell me about how animals used to kill each other and stuff like that, and we're part animals, we've evolved from that. We're not here to do that. So those kinds of like, what activates that? What brings that forward? Because this information to me is a foundation that says we can all be free. We don't have to tell the story of what happened to Uncle so-and-so or grandma's this and that. We can see how it's been happening in the cards over and over. We can see the patterns and the themes of what happens in relationships. We can see it. And now we have to actually activate the inner and outer self to the alignment, to the eudaimonia, that, the inside and the outside self come together as one. And that's what we're being asked to do. But it's hard because a lot of people have been really hurt. And a lot of people are really hurt. But we're not meant to be holding ourselves in that vibration. That's the push up. Go ahead.
And the responses that people give is from a pain body. There's people that have been hurt or been through these things. Like I said, I've almost been killed by someone. Like, I've been stabbed by my back, literally. For the 3 of Diamonds to get stabbed in his back and have the 7 of Hearts as his Venus within his relationship, the 7 of Hearts and Venus signifies betrayal. What bigger betrayal than it is to get stabbed in your back? Isn't that kind of like?
And how do you go? But how do you grow through that? Right. But how do you grow through that? Right. How do you come to understand and see that? Because I'm going to keep saying I'm an activist for innocence, but I know, J-Lo, what you're saying. There's contracts, bounded by contracts, families that come over time, generations within families. I don't know that I know all the answers, but I know when we come together not wanting to hurt each other and looking for solutions, we know a lot more than we think. And sure,
people don't want, but somebody like him doesn't. He's not trying to. He's not. He's not trying to heal. He's used his power and the people around him to do this for years and years and years and years. This is just now coming out. So some people don't want help. Some people don't want to heal. Some people don't care. This is what they know. This is who they are. And when you have that much money and you have that much power, you think you're untouchable because your whole camp and your whole life has led you to believe and think that you are untouchable.
And I guess for a long time he was. And I hear that. And I don't suggest that there's not all parts. By no means. I'm not trying to lean like there's not a center to it all. But I just continue to see this potential right relation for those who want to grow different foundation. But I hear you. Some people have been where they've been for so long, and that's where they'll stay. And sometimes somebody who goes somewhere like that really sees it really clear at one point and gets like, what the heck am I doing? I can't do that anymore. There's that happens too. It all depends on where the person's at in their cycle and what they're open to.
If he hasn't sought counsel, I would be, um, I would question if he wants to heal. You know, I think the only way to know if he wants help or if he sought help, I don't know him personally, but I do know, from what we're speaking about and just overall, just in the cards, is to get over those things, to let those things go. You need counseling. I think nines is a heavy road. It's a long road. I would say it's a long road because it is something that's not going to happen overnight. It's something that, especially within three of diamonds, has a nine of spades and Neptune, right? So there's something overall as far as for you spiritually and mentally. And whenever you're going through something spiritually, that's why I said these things are not going to happen overnight. You're not going to be healed overnight. This is a step by step process. Like you said, there's a step by step process for those people who are addicted, right? So he has an addiction possibly. It's a lifestyle, becomes an addiction based upon the habits that you create daily for yourself, right? So yeah, and again, like I said, we don't know these people personally, but from what the card says, the three of diamonds has the worst relationship life path there is. And a part of that is the seven of hearts. Then and for him, he's judged by the king of hearts, right? So we judging him by his character, by his leadership. How does he help people? How does he come into the aid of other people? And you get to your Pluto. You get to the reward card through your Pluto, right? So your Pluto is the two of hearts. So how is he within those intimate personal relationships? Who is the person that he's how is he helping and advising other people? Can you trust him? Is he the person that can even give advice when you have such an attitude or a demeanor or a
Well, he
reputation
wants
like
to
he is?
control. It's all about control. That too in Pluto is control. That is control at its high, at its most power. Like that is, he needs to be in control, and he wants to control others, and that's exactly what you saw in that video. Control, dominating, and even the king. That
And that's
even the kings have that. Hmm.
And for me, I know exactly what it is. It's also fear outside of control. That's where the control
Right. It's
comes
that's
from.
the
Is the
other side.
fear.
Exactly.
Um, but there's an artist named Gunna, and on one of his last albums, he has "I Don't Want to Die Alone" as one of the names of his song, and that is the definition of the three of diamonds: living in fear of not having that soulmate with you. The two of hearts is a card of the soulmate. Okay. Okay. So that is something or someone that you share your deepest, darkest secrets with, someone that you almost have a psychic connection with. Like I said, fear. I've been in these situations before. I've been in domestic disputes. And like I said, I wasn't an aggressor. But also one thing that kept me around in that position was because I was fearful of losing the love of my life, who I felt like was a soulmate, a soul tie. And anyone who feel like they're soulmates and soul ties, a soulmate and tie isn't worth your life. You know, I
You
don't
know
care
what
how
I
much
think
you love
happens
someone.
there?
If you're feeling,
No, I think when you fall in love like that, sometimes it's the wounds that come together. I think when you fall in love like that, sometimes it's the wounds that come together. And yeah, me too. Like I've changed my authentic response for somebody I loved. I've accommodated that person for the purpose of relationship and such like that. But then you start to recognize the limitation that is to your own wholeness because you're not being yourself. And that's where the tension comes up in relationships. That's why people get mad at each other, is because they're not necessarily being their authentic selves. They're trying to keep the relationship okay, or keep the person okay, or not make them mad, or not do that. Like they're working around whatever your baby monster is. right? Because everybody has like the emotions that they didn't learn to regulate, or the inner world that they're still making peace with because they shut down wherever they shut down. Like when we come
Mhm.
together in relationships, these are classrooms, these are layered polishings to wake up parts of us. So it's by no mistake that the woundings happen, and it's just unfortunate how much damage we can do. But sometimes we do a lot of learning and growing with people too. I really see relationships as like, I think of the men that I've loved and the long-term relationships I've had, and like they are all such huge impetus to my growth and becoming. And each one, I revealed other parts of myself and how I managed other parts of another person. So I got better at being myself in their reflection. But it took a while to make sure I was authentic, especially when I didn't want one to go away and I was willing to like bend to make sure they didn't go away. And those kind of things is when we lose our center and authenticity in relationships, and then they become violent. And if somebody thinks they're top dog, I'm the dominating one, you should do what I say, well, that's the craziness that we hope we can pray away.
Mhm. Yeah, living in fear, you really don't know who you are until you're in a relationship. A relationship is the one of the best classrooms where you can see that reflection of who you really are. The things kind of like you said that you really fear, the things that you really need to work on, and the relationship is just going to be a reflection whether you like it or not. And one of the things that scared me the most when I was in that relationship, one thing that kept me there was this person kept saying, and they were a seven, is I love you, but I can't love you properly until I know that you love yourself. And I didn't know exactly what that meant at that particular time. You know, until you really love yourself within a relationship, you're going to become codependent upon a relationship. That is the two of hearts and Pluto, because now you're looking to control the other person's feelings. Like Gina was saying, there's the fear and the control, and the fear of loss of not having someone or them not seeing you or loving you in the light that you want them to love you in. And that reflection in the mirror can probably be scary. A lot of times, when you realize that you don't even love yourself, or do you even know yourself? Are you dependent upon the idea of what the idea that the other person has of you, right? When you're becoming dependent upon someone, that is the three diamonds with that two of hearts and Pluto. You're not going to find love until you know how to love yourself and not dependent upon someone else. So I'll just read from the book also from here. It says the seven hearts out. I mean, the three of diamonds with the seven hearts and Venus out to make a marriage that is disappointing. Should be wary of giving confidence or releasing their own rights. What I read that as should be wary of giving confidence or releasing love or giving the confidence to their partner or depending on the confidence coming from their partner. So don't be dependent upon someone for them to look at you a certain type of way. Celebrities are humans. I think that we forget they're going through these exact the same things, and the cards I think is the humbling point that shows you that these people are humans. They're going through the same thing that you're going through. They're going through that reflection within that relationship, within that marriage. As Gina was saying, that two of hearts in Pluto, having or wanting control or being fearful of someone leaving you. He chased that woman down the hallway. Does that not show fear of someone leaving? But go ahead. So I thought Gina was about to say. Was there anything else? So that's the three of diamonds. And reason we brought that up again, it's seven clubs week within this particular week, or the archetype of that particular card can show disagreement. It can show gossip, skepticism. It can show maybe someone stealing. Also, this particular card is very hard to trust as well. I think it's a card that shows there's an initiation of something. Should be negative or positive. Can denote therapy, counseling. What are some other key words? Um, Humanitarian as well. I think it can go into social issues or trying to find a solution. to a problem as well for someone spiritually. Viral information and spiritual teacher, and not caring what people think of you, and I think when it comes to not caring what people think of you, you know yourself. Outside of loving yourself, the only way you can love yourself also is to know that you know yourself, to be self-guided and rightly guided, but when you're dependent upon other people, the love of other people, that's when you realize you don't know yourself, when you're dependent upon other people. So the only reason to really know if you love yourself is when you can shift with your emotions and your feelings, and not let those depend, your self-reflection of yourself. Don't let that depend on other people. So was there any other questions as well? Someone said, so I'll go to the comments. So
I'm going to go, Rashawn, but thank you so much.
Someone was talking about not trauma. You're welcome. Enjoy. I'm going to just go through the questions, I guess, see if there's any other questions.
Right. Thank you. I'll listen.
So I don't think there's any other questions. Loki said, money, power aside, he was an abuser prior to those things, but I understand what you're saying. I don't know. I didn't say anything about the money and the power. It's the money and power of wanting and love and not wanting to be alone with three diamonds, fear of being alone, missing out on your soulmate, not having that person you can share your life with, the power of love, controlling another person, controlling the emotions of another person, or how they feel and see you as, and also being vulnerable within those states. I think when you're in love, you give a lot to another person, and like I said, why I stayed in a relationship, I think that was abusive mentally, and it did get somewhat physical, was the fear, so it was definitely out of fear. Oh yeah, the long range. Adonis asked me, had a question. Make sure I answered that. I said, where can I find my long range card? You'll be able to find that in the 7-year spreads. Okay. I know that is jargon. You probably won't completely understand completely. So that's why we ask you to do consultations, because it's kind of hard to explain things without sitting down, maybe 20 to 30 minutes, so you can truly understand. So you have these 7-year spreads. Through your 7-year spreads, there's going to be a Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and whichever plate you're in, that Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn is going to be your long range card. Yeah. So you do need these particular plates, the Grand Solar Spreads, which is in the link in my bio on Instagram. Or if you want to hit either me or Gina up, we can send you a PDF file. I don't know what Gina would charge you for that, but there is a cost associated usually. Anything that you wanted to say, Gina, or anything else regarding the 7 clubs week?
No, I just think that, with Jupiter moving into Gemini on the 7 of Clubs day, like I said earlier, you're going to see more of this stuff come out. Things get exposed, like we saw this week. So that it's just a preview of what will, kind of pop off with that energy, And then we're getting ready to go into an 8 of Clubs week. And this is a very intense week. I don't think people realize how powerful this card can be, the 8 of Clubs. If you go back to certain times, you'll see a lot of violence plays out with this energy on a weekly basis. So just be mindful of your movements, and I think we have Mars and North Node, Aries energy playing out as well. So, which doesn't surprise me with that 8 of Clubs that we're going into, because it is a fixed mental card. People can get really stuck in their opinions, what they believe, and it has the 10s associated with it too. So that's why you'll see groups, maybe something with groups of people, even with children, with this energy with the 8 of Clubs week. So just don't get stuck. That's the key, not to get stuck in your head. Be a little bit more flexible, right? I think with that energy. But yeah, and I think we're moving out of we're going into Gemini season too. I think today is the last day of Taurus season. So we're moving into Gemini, so it'll be a lot. And then Jupiter moves into Gemini too, so definitely going to be probably a lot more information being shared and more. And I think you're going to see an uptick in like spiritual knowledge, people wanting to learn this information, people really seeing how beneficial this information can be in regards to just having an insight into energy, into spiritual knowledge, and really again having to really work on that mental discipline and the power of your mind and the power of your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, for sure. The Eight of Clubs is exactly that: the power of your mind, the power of your thoughts, being in control. It is in Mars
You can't take a
Neptune, so
shower because
it can
the
be
it's
show violent
clogged and
natures
there's shit in the
um,
in the
of the
tub. It backed up.
and it can show violent nature of this particular card. The seven at the sevens are tests, right? It's going to test your nature, I think. So between the seven and the eight, you're going to be tested. How much of control are you? How much of a control do you actually have? Of your mind, of your mental, of your heart. The eights denote power and control, abuse. A lot of times, we didn't look at the three of diamonds spread fully, but with that seven of clubs or seven of hearts, I mean, what comes with that is the eight of hearts. So the seven of clubs will use the seven of hearts, eight of hearts will use your emotions against you a lot of times. The abuse comes in the power. They will use the power of love either for you or against you. They will um, is the flirt, so someone that is flirtatious, that would pander you, throw love all over you, but use that as their advantage sometimes, right? I'm not saying that all people do that because of that reason, but we know that it lets you down. It lightens your guard, so you're more open once you have those the sensations of love around, right? But what is the next thing that someone that panders you is that they will strip those particular things from you to get what they want. That is the issue that we have here with Diddy, Three of Diamonds, Seven of Hearts, Eight of Hearts, is using the power of love against you, is stripping the things that they gave you away from you and using it against you. Now you are um, a a victim of the power of love and how it is actually used. So I would advise you all to also to go back to look at. I looked at it this morning. Where's my other phone? Dang, I forgot which video I was watching, but we spoke. Oh yeah, there you go. So a few weeks, I want to say a few weeks ago. Let me go to the YouTube. Which video that we kind of broke that down exactly. Now I also posted, I guess, the Eight of Hearts week. I kind of spoke about that. Was about the power and use of love because the Eight of Hearts can be sit in the field of depression as well. So the Seven of Hearts, it being this challenge, and the Three of Diamonds within this relationship, this is what they're challenged with, right? So abuse and the power and how do they use love, and however they use that is the reward, right? The King of Hearts. So, and that is how you look at is your reputation. That is the 10, right? So whenever you're looking at the 10th house, it is how you regard it, how your peers look at you, how everyone look at you, right? So did you use the power of love in a good way or evil way, right? So, and attached to the King of Hearts is a humanitarian. So it's someone that gives, someone that is the protector, the father, So that is your reputation of how you will be looked at for the Three of Diamonds, and are you living in fear of love, of creating intimate contacts, of creating intimate relationships? What is keeping you back from creating those relationships and being intimate within your, even within your bits. Rick Ross and him 500 said it perfectly. I treat my business relationships like my intimate relationships or relationships I have with my partner. And the reason he said that is because you want to have that same thought pattern of how do I come to serve this particular person that I'm in business with, just as much as you do within your intimate relationships. I think A lot of times we separate those things and our patterns, and that's also why you may not be in business with people, why you can't create a good business relationship. And that is also another reason why a lot of rich people judge people who are or want to go into business with people who are married, because they know that these people have a level of sacrifice. They know that these people have a level of what can I say? I feel like when I say um, vulnerability. These people can be vulnerable. They can be vulnerable with these people. They can create intimate or have a close relationship. They can have these talks. They can be honest with these people. Because let's be truthful, if you're not honest, you're probably not in a relationship, right? If you're not trustworthy, you're probably not in a relationship, right? If you can't control your money, or you don't know how to manage your money, you're probably not in a relationship, right? Or it's just a toxic one. So this is why these things are laws, these are patterns, these are I can see the mind state of how someone is when they're running across the two of hearts and Pluto. When they're sitting in the third diamond spot, I can see the patterns that you've created within your life, or how fearful you are within your relationships based upon how you act this year. This is how this works. This is why Gina was saying these are going to be tools. These particular things are can be used or should be used, because these are things that diagnose people. But these are how you can learn how to deal with people, not to diagnose them, but maybe see the patterns of how you deal with people, right? What habits do people have? What habits have you created? Like I said, out of 365 days divided by 7, there's 52 days you get to see what type of pattern that you created behind a particular card. Or if it's your personal card or your yearly card, that's the pattern. Or you're probably going to recognize this particular pattern if it's your yearly, or your long range. It may be from a different point perspective than just your 52 card day card. So I think Gina has her responsibilities to take care of. Are you still there, G?
I am, but I do have to get
No.
going. Yeah, I gotta go.
Okay, no problem, no problem. So thank you all for joining us. We'll see you all next week, 1 to the 8 of clubs week. Gina kind of broke that down a little bit. If you have any questions, again, these things we're doing these kind of switched it up, more of just the preaching to you and explaining. We also want you to get involved with the Q&A. So King Adonis, J-Lo, Low Key, thank you all for coming out. Menorah, all of these particular people have businesses. I don't know, say everybody, but if you all have businesses, don't be afraid to put your business. Spam my comments. Tell people to come out to support you as well. I'm not one of those type of people. I think cross branding, cross advertising. I come from. Was educated formally within marketing, so I know these things are natural. So I don't mind if you want to market yourself. Maybe a little fee. You want me to shout you out? I have about 100 viewers weekly. So if you want to add a couple of viewers to your page, please let me know. We have had a guest on here, Will, that said some of you all went over to his page. So thank you for supporting him. It's enough money out here for everybody. At this point, can't say I'm just doing this for money. I'm passionate because it's insightful. These things have helped me clearly on a daily basis. You can see your daily card. That is something that we would get to outside of your yearly and weekly of the 52 days. You have a card that happens or changes every day. So you have another lesson. So life is full of lessons. And gosh, that was the perfect snippet for this other for the what's his name, Gordon, I believe. He has a snippet that I was using. I got to play it for the outro. But it has a perfect saying whenever regarding these particular principles or learning these particular things. I think we tend to overlook, but these are life principles that happens every day. And he put it in the best of words. So if I can't add it, I don't want to go looking around. Sleeping for suckers. Marvin Gordon. I gotta let y'all hear this tagline. This is like so Cardology, and part of the reason I guess I'm here, because I found this out myself, and have when you find out something, then someone else reiterates it. It's like I know I wasn't crazy, right? It's like Jay-Z said, all you have to do is be right once. And when you're right multiple times, or it then becomes a law, I think. So whenever you're able to look out and see other people practicing or witnessing the same thing that you're witnessing, I think it gives confirmation to the law that you have witnessed. So Marvin Gordon on Sleep is for Suckers. If you don't stick around to hear the saying, I'm gonna play it. I do have it loading. But again, so the Ada Clubs, thank you all for joining. That will be next week. Um, I'll just see Myron Gordon. Myron Golden. It says failure is inevitable. I said Marvin. I think this is the episode. Mm. That wasn't a quote, but that is exactly what we was kind of speaking about today a little bit as well. Mm. No, that's not it. If you're sticking around, I appreciate you. Because it shows that some things that I have or what I'm presenting you, you actually value. So I really do appreciate it. But here we go. Here we go. Pretty sure this is the saying. This is what the saying on it. Maybe not because it's. Mm. And again, if you didn't hear it, let me replay it because that is the staple of cardology. So all truths are microcosm and principles of each other. So within the cards, that is how they work. The cards are all work based upon each other, and the lessons that you learn and the principles that you learn are just microcosms of each other, and the principles are built upon each other. So I said these are principles and patterns that we take through life. And if you've never seen the story or the YouTube how to outwit the devil, go and watch that because that further explains what he's speaking about as far as principles and truths. So hopefully that you're living in your principle and your truth as best as you can as we all learn and as we all grow. We all are learning something in every day. So look at your daily cards, your weekly, your monthly, and what is it that you are sent here to learn in this particular time. Stay present, stay focused. See you all next week for the Eight of Clubs. Thank you for joining. Yes, I will share the link if you couldn't hear. Link 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. Thanks, JLo. See you later.